I wanted to be more male presenting, and I wanted to be, I guess, more truthful to who I was.
I was told I'm a lesbian because I was read as a cis woman, right? So being read as a cis woman, being attracted to women, not being allowed to explore my gender expression, I was put in a box.
I could still be gay even if I'm trans. I was hesitant to come out and say that to people besides the one friend I confided in.
You're taking care of your body. For whatever needs your body has, you're taking care of it and taking steps to make sure that you're healthy. And that to me means that you're safe.
Gender is fluid, and masculinity comes in all shapes, sizes, and degrees. But how do health, sexuality, and safety come into play when you live your masculine truth? How do you be the man or masculine person you are while still taking care of your body and making all the right decisions when there are so many decisions to be made? The New York City Department of Health asked Callen-Lorde to find out all of this and more. We took 13 trans men and transmasculine people, 2 who are best friends and 2 with their partners, sat them down on our little red couch and asked, what does it mean to be transmasculine and healthy? I'm Devin Lowe, and on this episode of Transmasculine and Healthy, we're going to be exploring change. What are some of the changes that come along with the trans person's journey and masculinity? Often people talk about changes in their bodies that are very physical and visible, like growing hair or wearing different clothes or a deeper bass in their voices. But what about sexuality and sexual orientation? Just how fluid can sexuality be? In episode 1, we talked with people about how they identified in terms of gender identity and sexual orientation. Now, we'll ask some of our cast members what's it been like for them to get comfortable with their sexual orientation as transmasculine people. What is it like for them when sexual orientation changes and a new side of themselves that they never knew existed begins to surface?
I've known myself to be a boy since a very young age, and I've known myself to be attracted to girls.
Before I transitioned, I was strictly interested in women.
I struggled a lot with the idea of being gay and trans when I was in my early stages of transition, because I thought if I was trans, I had to be into girls. So rather than going back to being a girl, I went and tried to be a straight guy.
It's not something that I even understood that I was going to undergo. When I first went to my first therapist here in the US, she actually introduced the idea that actually trans men and trans women are just like everybody else in terms of sexual orientation. They can be gay, they can be straight, they can be bi, they're like everybody else.
With the introduction of the hormones, I started to feel, like I said, differently physically, and then also it got me thinking more about things, and then I said to myself, who better to understand what I'm feeling and what I'm going through right now than a transgender woman? And then, you know, it sort of kind of just dawned on me that it made sense to try to explore that.
In my entire life, I've really never seen myself being attracted to men. It just never happened. I have seen them as my brothers, as my close friends, but never as a potential lover. It may have been because it was a way for me to shape my masculine identity, and pretty much 100% of the men that I grew up around were straight, and the general conversation was about girls, and naturally it kind of worked out that I was attracted to girls as well. But after transitioning was the first time that I've actually thought about it. And it wasn't necessarily about men, but it wasn't necessarily about dating or loving another man. It was just sexually exploring being with another man.
I had taken interest in the first transgender woman that I had formally met, like that I had interacted with and formally met. I'd taken an interest in her But when we got to talking about sex, at that point I was a virgin, physically virgin. So I was like, you're not coming up inside me. You're not breaking this shit. I said, I'm leaving that shit. I don't want to die today. It was very scary for me. It was a scary thought.
My first thought was, oh my God, I just transitioned and this testosterone must be doing that. I mean, I've never had this before. It was a very scary feeling too, because suddenly everything that you've known to be true is kind of, it's not that it stopped being true, but something else is happening too.
I was in a relationship with a girl for 2.5 years, and over the 2.5 years, she had started to catch on that, you know, maybe something's not up, and it wasn't working. And everyone was kind of seeing that as well. You know, we were putting on the perfect couple front, and when a couple starts looking really perfect, there's definitely something going on, I believe. And so I was like, everyone knows it's ending.
There was pushback when she actually suggested that we have that sex, penetrative sex. So for me, I was like, no, I kind of feel like all of my past as identifying as a lesbian, as a butch lesbian, who was the primary dominant giver and who took pride in being the dominant giver and the pleaser, you know, was kind of like, I felt like I was like, am I now a femme? Am I now a lady? Am I now, you know, I think that's the way I can try to articulate it. There was pushback and there was questioning of myself and my sexuality.
It was this huge crisis, and when it finally ended, I came out again, and not many people were surprised.
Being straight was a very important part of my gender identity, being a man. Coming from the culture that I came from, it was a pretty big deal. And so finally revealing that I'm actually attracted to men was a little bit of a difficulty for me.
I was like, you know, I don't want to do this, you know, at first. And then she said, just think of it as a, what did she say? Just think of it as a lady stick. I think that's what she said. As a lady stick, yes. And then when she said that, it was like, something went off in my head. I said, lady stick. That word clicked with me. And I said, maybe it is just like a lady stick. And so at that point, it became a little bit easier for me to think about having the penetrative sex with her.
I was depressed. I was in the relationship and I was depressed. And since coming out and becoming more comfortable with myself, I've already started to feel a lot better. You know, not every day is beautiful, but it's good to get to know yourself and to be comfortable with yourself.
It started to settle in my mind that, I guess with the hormones and with my own like satisfaction with my experience, it started to dawn on me that there wasn't really a change in my sexual orientation, and that there wasn't a change in I didn't become a woman just because I'm having penetrative sex. It started to dawn on me that regardless of my orientation and my gender identity, I know who I am. It doesn't at all negate that I am transitioning into a man.
I think being trans did have a little bit of like, it did require a little bit of thinking in terms of me coming to terms with, you know, wanting to date a guy. And it definitely was something that I, you know, at the moment it was like, you know what, I know that I want to date a guy. I know that I actually want to explore. First thing was I wanted to sexually explore. And of course there was a question, well, I'm trans, you know, what is that? Who am I going to date also? But it seemed obvious that I would date gay men are they going to be interested in a trans guy? To me, it was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to find out. And I just went ahead and tried, and was actually relieved to find that there are other trans guys that are actually dating men.
A lot of people will say, oh, well, when you transitioned, or whatever transition means, you know, it's like a lot of different things to different people. Like suddenly people will say like, oh, you became gay, or you suddenly were attracted to men that you weren't before, or attracted to women that you weren't before. And I more like to think about it as someone is feeling more comfortable in their body. When you're feeling more comfortable in your body, you tend to actually feel more sexual, because it's like finally you feel like this is the body that relates to who I am, or this is the identity I found myself. Like I actually figured out who I am, and it's pretty empowering and also incredibly scary at the same time.
It's just really accepting that, you know, sexuality is not just one clear thing. And once I accepted it, it was a lot easier.
Yeah, sexual attraction and just being understood is like, it's priceless.
Living your sexual truth is priceless and can help allow you to feel like the masculine person you are. Another thing that often helps people feel comfortable in their masculine skin is passing. But the concept of passing can mean many things for many different people.
Is passing important? Is being recognized and seen as men in society is important? Yes, it is very important.
Passing was always important to me, even before I knew I was trans.
So the thing about passing, I never really liked the word passing, because passing says that I am actively doing something, right? So, you know, I am not actively trying to pass as non-transgender, right? If you are making the assumption that I'm non-transgender, you made that assumption.
To me personally, yes, it matters a lot to me, because my thing is I need to look as a male, dress as a male. So yes, to me, pass. I mean, it's not for everybody. To me personally, passport means that's the whole thing for me. I mean, I go to the extreme to make sure I'm passable.
The importance of passing to me, I've found it's been like very peaceful. It's made me feel very calm.
To me, it's just important that you look and everything else as a male, because to me, like, if you got questions about my gender identity, then I have a problem. There's something that's not right. Because a cis man, cis men don't say I'm passable.
Cis passing and blending, I just learned how you like that. It's the same thing. When I heard blending, at first I was like, ooh, and then my brother was like, dude, it's the same thing. So cis passing and blending, I don't subscribe to them. I used to. I'm now in the point of my journey where I don't care. I don't like being misgendered, but trans people don't have to look like cis people to be respected.
Now that's something I can agree with. Respect can be such a validating thing, and everyone deserves to have it. So how has passing impacted some of our cast members? And how has the concept of passing changed for them as they've reached different stages in their masculine journey or transition?
It was very, very difficult for me not being recognized or seen as a man. In Israel, nobody would ever think that I wasn't a guy, because it's not as common. And so if you presented as a guy, you're a guy, no questions asked, at least back in those days. Here, when I came, I guess there has been a little bit more exposure to transgenders, and it seems that people would be able to, like, not necessarily not necessarily identify me as female, but they would actually be confused.
I remember when I was 12 and my aunt would take me skiing up in Vermont, and I was, all bundled up and, still early in puberty, so my chest was still very flat, and someone would gender me wrong as a guy, and my birth name was gender neutral, so I was able to get away with it, and it would be like the best day, and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm having a good time because I'm fooling everybody. But it was always just this validation that I had this awesome day skiing as a boy.
I think that the goal is to pass. You know, that's why we go through surgeries and we go through the changes in our body physically. Surgery is not easy. Nobody says, oh, I want surgery. It's really just like, no, I have to get surgery. I have to, because this is the body that I have to live in.
There would be a moment like I would walk on a train, or everywhere that I would go, I would be so conscious because I know that any given minute someone is gonna look. And if they're gonna look twice, because most of the time they won't right away notice. They will look and then they would turn their head again like, whoa, that was confusing. Is that a boy or a girl?
I would take it as constructive criticism, like, you're doing something wrong today, you're not passing. You know, and then I would think back, like, was it the way I was sitting? Was it the shirt I was wearing? Was it just, you know, my hair, how it was parted, the way I spoke? Was I speaking too high? And I would look for these common themes and then work on it. You know, I wouldn't let myself be hurt about it. I would just take it as criticism. And I know a lot of guys aren't able to take it that way. And they will be personally offended, and they will sometimes even get aggressive about it. But I just took it as it came, and, you know, when someone gendered me right, it was awesome. But if they gendered me wrong, it was on me, not them. They're not trying to hurt me.
Everything I was socialized to believe, it's a constant unlearning. Like, I was socialized to believe that all men have flat chests, men have beards, men have mustaches, men have muscles. So me being this man in this body, you know, I can't take away those feelings of what I feel like I'm supposed to look like.
I really did everything in my power before transitioning to conceal any hint of femininity, simply because I wanted to appear more masculine as I could. And that meant not wearing colors that will bring up any, you know, gentle or feminine aspects of my, you know, natural look.
When I get my top surgery, I'm gonna be so happy that I don't have to wear, I don't bind right now, but I have to wear this sports bra that's very tight. And I've been wearing this sports bra for years. This sports bra is like 12 years old. I swear to God, it's my lucky sports bra. And I don't have to wear this freaking thing anymore. I might keep it and do something with it artistically, but I'm just so looking forward to after I have the surgery, where I can pass not only on the outside, but also my chest can be flat and I could be free, you know?
It's something that you carry with you all the time. For me, it was a matter of, I can't continue this way anymore. I couldn't continue. I was desperate to transition, and I did everything in my power to just get on with it.
For many, the word passing is crucial to their journey. But for others, the word passing and aspects of the meaning behind it are viewed with mixed emotions.
Cis passing, just a whole bunch of bullshit. And I wish I never tapped into it, because if I never tapped into it, I might not even be on testosterone at this point.
Like, even saying passable is very charged. Like, it's not something that I like to even say.
It's bad terminology to use, because some people will always feel a little bit of, some people may feel some kind of sadness or disappointment with their own self when it comes to passing.
When I moved here from Israel, and I heard this, I used to go to a group and I heard someone saying like, oh, I'm passing. The word passing to me sounded a little bit like it was an ouch. Because I didn't think I was passing. It was just really being recognized.
So when we use terms like passing, I could use it here in this room, but I know now that that's painful for some people.
This word doesn't exist in Hebrew, and suddenly I've actually realized that I've kind of started using it, and not because I liked it, but because of lack of better terms. I really, you know, it took me a while to actually question and challenge it and say, you know what, I don't like it.
But this binary world we live in, where people feel like it has to be woman or man, that breaks down into what we talked about: gender expression, gender identity. Not everybody that IDs as man is gonna look like what society tells us men should look like. Not everybody that IDs as woman is gonna look like what society tells you a woman look like. So passing is bullshit, in my opinion.
And the thing is that passing has a legacy, right? Passing has a legacy that is rooted in like the racial history of this country. Passing happened when like light-skinned, light-eyed Black folks would pass for white in order to keep themselves safe from like systemic discrimination, in order to have more opportunities to take care of their family, or because they were drinking the Kool-Aid and they really, really hated being Black and they decided to pretend that they're white. This is a very active political, socio-political thing that was happening, right? Trans people, I'm not trying to pass as anybody but Teak Milan, trans man extraordinaire, okay? I'm just trying to be me. Seriously, I'm not trying to pass as cisgender. So I think that kind of idea, I think, can be problematic, and I think it needs to be unpacked a little bit more.
I think when I started passing, that was like a big, it was just a very odd adjustment for me. Because it was like, wow, this feels really good because I don't have to like constantly be like justifying myself in public all the time. I don't have to be like justifying my gender and my existence to like everybody around me, but also like, you then get this kind of like respect and like just like safety that you're just like able to pass through unnoticed. That like you did not previously get, and that that most people don't get.
So when we stand here today, or when anybody stands around today and then publicly talks about, oh well, a girl has to pass, or you gotta pass, or I want him to be a passable man, a passable looking transgender in order for me to be with you, it could trigger a whole bunch of emotions, a whole bunch of memories that are not positive. And then the good part about passing is there's also an upside to passing. It gives you something to aim at. It gives you a reason to monitor your health. It gives you a reason to like work on your fitness. You're setting your own goal for yourself. You could, and now I'm learning that it's good to set goals for yourself and not dampen your own potential just because somebody else may not be where you're at. You've got to be the best person that you can be. You have to be. You have to reach your full potential.
Reaching your full potential, whatever that means for you, requires change. And the journey to being your happiest self means exploring your sexual orientation and deciding if concepts like passing are right for you. Incredible resources like the New York City Department of Health's Pocket Guide for trans men and transmasculine people can help you find more information on these topics, like change and so much more. Check out places like Callen-Lorde for additional resources and help with transitioning. Hit up the website at www.callen-lorde.org/transhealth and join us for the next episode of Transmasculine and Healthy, where we'll delve into masculinity. Make sure to watch the entire series. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more information. We'll see you there.